Hello everyone, how are you doing? This is Sana, and I'm a community initiative lead at Recro. And welcome to another Recro's webinar. So Recro is a developer-focused organization wherein we are trying to connect developers' aspiration to the right opportunity by working with the high-growth startups like Swiggy, Dunzo, CureFit, Udan, HomeLane, and many others. And today we are having with us Rishu Agrawal, and the topic is Road to React Native, wherein we will get to know how we can start working React Native, how we can learn React Native, and more about Rishu. So Rishu working with Microsoft as a React Native developer SE2, and he holds 4+ years of industry experience. He was a part of Recro before, before moving into Microsoft, and I would say like Rishu would be the better person to tell you more about the topic and about himself. So I'll keep that part to him. And let me tell you more about the platform. So as usual, we are on AirMeet right now, and on the right hand side you can see, I think, four sections here, or yeah, five. So you can see session when you can get to know the kind of session you're going to have. So for this webinar, the first, which is the welcome session, which is going on, after which we will be having the presentation and explanation, and post which we're going to have our Q&A. So you can anyway keep your questions coming in the question section, the last section, which you can see. So I request you all, please keep all your questions only in the question section so that we won't miss out any of your doubt or any question from your end. Now the next one is raise hand. So if you feel you want to come here and ask your question, like if you want to use the platform and then you want to ask a question, then obviously you can raise hand and I'll be able to allow to you, and you will be coming here on the platform and then you will be talking. Now you can see attendees, wherein you can see who else is attending the session with you. Then you can see the chat section, wherein you can chat about the topic and about anything except the questions. So yeah, and the last section is question, which I already explained to you. Please ask your question only in the question section. Okay, so that's it about the platform, and I'll just ask Dishu to start the session. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in here. And thank
Hello,
you.
hello everyone. Yeah, thanks Anna for the lovely introduction. So yeah, today here I am talking. Today I'll talk about React Native. So this session today, it's mostly about like how can you boost your career on React Native. So I'm assuming most of us, like whoever is joining this session today, is familiar with React. Can everyone raise their hand if anyone is not familiar with React? Sana, would you like to create a poll for that? Yeah. So talking about the today's session, what are we going to achieve after today's session? So we'll learn how can we start getting used to React Native. What should be the path in order to start coding into a mobile application with React Native. So yeah, that's all I'm going to talk about. Mostly the roadmap on how you can boost your career with React Native. So yeah, most of us are familiar with React. So yeah, that should be good. Let's get started. I'll share my screen. Yeah. So today's session, Road to React Native. So I'm assuming, yeah, let's say all of us are very much familiar with React. How do we create React application in a web using simple JavaScript? So talking about the roadmap. So today we are going to talk about how can we sharpen the basics. What are the things that are needed in order to master React Native, and after that we'll look into specifications of React Native, how the JSX is different in React Native, and what are the style sheets and how can we create styles in React Native. After that, we'll learn how can we use app navigation, like what is the way to do a navigation in React Native application. Then we'll learn about setting up the push notification. How can we set up the push notification? Then we will dive into native component and modules. So React Native usually talks with iOS and Android. And on top of that, we can also create applications for Mac OS and Windows OS or TV app, TV OS. So all of those are possible with React Native. So we'll look into this. And post that, we'll also see how can we create a deep link in React Native. Post that, we'll learn about little about animations. I'm not going to talk details about all of the topics because if I start talking about all of these topics in detail, it will take me 4 to 5 hours to complete each and every topic in detail. So the idea here is to guide you guys how can you start getting into React Native. So I'll just show you the path. Rest you have to start coding into it and start getting familiar with React Native. Cool. Let's talk about sharpening the basics. Like what all do we really need in order to start coding into React Native? So the very first thing we need is a JavaScript basics. Like we should be very much familiar with JavaScript basics. And I'm talking only about the minimum required things. Like there are a lot of things that JavaScript offers, definitely, but these are the minimum things that is needed in order to code into a React application. So arrow functions, callback functions, and function currying, array functions, and object manipulations. So I hope everyone is familiar with all these 4 topics. We also need to sharpen our React concepts. So when talking about React concepts, we should be very much familiar with JSX. How can we write a better JSX, and what are the pitfalls, and what are the do's and don'ts of writing a JSX. Then we should be familiar with how can we write a components, functional component, class component, and pure components, passing the props down the children, and lifting the state up, and all those play around with component and props. Then we also need to learn how can we handle states and lifecycle. What are the life cycles of React component? And if we are using a functional component, then how the lifecycle can be used in a functional component. We should be familiar with all these topics. Then handling events like let's say you have a form event or any other event. Cool. Then we also need to know conditional rendering that we usually follow in React, and yeah. So post that latest React concept, which is a hooks. We should be very much familiar with hooks. I personally prefer to write components in hook, and hooks are definitely industry standard right now. Almost all of the organization follow hooks as a must have in React. And then definitely there's a bonus for atomic design. It's a design structure that any React application can follow. This is just the application structure, that how can we structure our React application. Cool. This is not a must have, but good to have. And after that, we also need to learn how can we also need to sharpen our Redux concepts. So when talking about Redux concept, we should be very much familiar with the Redux architecture, the data flow from action to reducers, and how the entire data flow is happening, and how can we plug in the middlewares, talking about Thunk or Saga, whichever you are comfortable with, anyone is fine. And post that, we need to be familiar with Redux persistence and async storage. Any doubt so far? So this was just a basic that we should know before diving into React Native application. Now let's dive into React Native. In this particular section, we'll talk more about what are the elements that React Native offers. How can we create UI view in React Native? So React Native, like it does not have a very long list of elements, unlike HTML, like how we write web applications. So we write div input. We also have what should I say, text input. I don't remember buttons, and like a lot of JSX element for HTML is already there. So similarly, we have certain elements that React Native offers us to create any UI element. React Native offers a view. It's a replacement for div. Like what we write in web application for div, it's a replacement for that. And we have a text element. We have an image element there where we can render any image. Then we have text input. Text input, it helps us to take any input in form of a form or any element. Then we have a scroll view. So scroll view and flat list, I'll just talk a brief about it, what it is. So usually in mobile application, we have a requirement. Lot of time we have a requirement like there's a long list, we have to render it, and we have to scroll through the list. So if you have used Facebook application or any Instagram application where the feed is there, you just keep on scrolling the feed, right? So that is a list view sort of thing. So for list view, React Native offers 2 elements. There's also a third element, but scroll view and flat list are the most used element. So there's a performance gap between scroll view and flat list. Scroll view is an unoptimized view. It renders all of the items at once, and flat list is a very optimized version of scroll view. So we should definitely, like whenever using in production application or any use case, we should go with flat list all the time. So I would suggest all of you, I have added the reference link over here. So whatever you guys are going to do, so you have to refer the React Native documentation. So all of these elements, how can you use it? I have not discussed in detail about it right now because the time does not permit us. So this session is, the whole idea of this session is to guide you how to create a React Native application. What should be the path of it, right? So I would suggest you to go through this link and read in detail all about all of these components. So these are very simple. You can use these elements in JSX form and pass props, whatever props they accept. So all of these elements accept a certain props that you can use in order to render your element. And then we have a touchable variants. So button pressing in React Native, it happens through certain UI elements that React Native offers. Like they have touchable opacity, touchable highlight, touchable without feedback. So when we press a button in a mobile application, so we see like we want a feedback or not, we want button to be highlighted or not. According to that use case, we have certain elements that React Native exposes us. So we can combine all of these elements and we can create any application that we can think of. Okay. And going forward, we also have a style sheets. So talking about styles, like how styles are different in React Native rather than a React web application. So in web application, we have a practice of writing a CSS files, right? So there we write CSS and we write selectors and all. So similarly, we don't have CSS over here. Rather, we say it's a styles over here. Okay. So all of the elements that we write, so it accepts a style. So we can create a style sheet using a create function that style sheets offer. Style sheet is a native API offered by React Native. Okay. So we can create any styles, and React Native usually follows flex principle. So whatever styles CSS that we write, usually we write over flex over here. So I was talking about style sheets. So whatever styles we write over here, it's very much similar to the styles that we write in web. It's just that we call it styles and we call it CSS in web. Okay. So flex is the main property that we use over here. All the flex property that we have used in web applications is also applicable in a React Native framework. Okay. So you can just go through the documentation of style sheets and you can find all the detailed styles that you can use. You can also use, let's say, font weight, font family, border radius, width, height. All those properties are available in React Native. Okay. So we just need to create style sheet and we can pass it to our elements that we are using it. And eventually it will render our elements in the way that we want. Okay. Now moving to app navigation. So the navigation is one of the very important thing that we have to take care in any application. When we create application in web, we follow React web navigation. They have certain principle. React router we have used, right? Most of us must have used React router. So in React Native environment, we use React navigation. Okay. So the navigation is slightly different over here. In any mobile application, we follow certain navigation principles. Okay. So usually iOS has a principle of bottom tab navigation. So if you are creating any application in iOS, the App Store guideline is to you have to create a bottom tab navigation. They will reject any drawer navigation app. Okay. And Android has a principle of creating drawer navigation. So using these two navigation, I mean, you can create any application that you want. Okay. So we have a bottom tab navigators, we have a drawer navigator, and we have a stack navigator. So I'll just give a brief how these navigators work in real life scenarios. Okay. Let's say we have an application. We'll just follow this particular bottom tab picture. Okay. So we have two tabs over here, home tab and settings tab. Let's say the home tab also has certain buttons and you can do some actions on top of it and it will keep adding screens on top of it. Let's say you do some profile editing on it. So when you click on the button and it will open a certain page, but still you are on the same tab, right? So this is having a tab navigation. On top of that, we are having a stack navigation. So stack navigation is nothing but stack of screens getting added on top of it, right? And when you press back, you just do a pop of the screen, right? It's very simple. Just the stack data structure is the stack navigator. Okay. And when you, let's say you are in home tab and you have done some operations on actions on it, and let's say your stack navigator for home tab has 5 screens on top of it. Okay. When you switch to settings tab, the entire history of this home tab is maintained. Like whenever you come back to this home tab, your stack history will be maintained. So it's offered by default from React Navigation. You don't have to do anything for that. It's inbuilt on this. Okay. So using this navigators, you can create any hierarchy that you want. Any application can be built using these three navigators. Okay. Usually in most of the application that we create, bottom tab and stack navigator are the need that we have to do. Okay. Any doubts so far? Any doubts on navigation? So navigation is one of the very important topic that we have to know in detail. We have to do a practice on it. So if there is any doubt on navigation, please do let me know. You can raise your hand or ask any question. Yeah. Moving on to push notifications. Okay. So push notifications are also a very important topic in mobile application. So whenever we create any application, we want the user to give a feedback, like what are they doing and what they have to do, if they have to perform any action on the application, we convey this via push notification. There's a question from Ashish: which navigation will work on which OS? So both the navigation can work on both the OS. Okay. So one thing I want to point out, so whatever code we are going to write, it's not for iOS or not for Android. So everything will work out of box for both the platform. Okay. So that is the beauty of React Native. That is why we are using React Native. We don't have to learn iOS and Android separately. We don't, even if you don't know iOS a bit, Android a bit, it's totally fine. If you know React, you can start coding into React Native and you can learn both the platforms side by side. Okay. And one more thing I would like to point out. So most of us might not have MacBook, right? So that does not block us from creating a React Native application. If you don't have a MacBook, that's totally fine. You can use your Windows system and you can create Android application, and that will work out of box on any uh, iOS application, iOS phone. So don't have to worry about that. It's not a blocker for you guys. Cool. Let's move to push notification. Yeah. So push notification, it's a very important topic or very important functionality in any mobile application that we have to keep add in our application. So using push notifications, we can convey our users certain actions, certain messages that they have to perform on our application. Okay. So talking about push notification, what you guys need to learn in push notification, how to set up in Android and iOS. So both the platform has a different setup function setup steps. Okay. So setting up in Android is slightly different from setting up in iOS. Okay. So as you can see, push notifications is just a pop-up that we see, like if there is a WhatsApp message or Facebook feed or Instagram feed, that is a push notification simply. Okay. So all of you have to learn how to set up in Android and iOS separately. I'm not going to dive deep into it because it will take a long time, and it's very straightforward. It's not something which is complicated and you cannot learn, right? So if you follow any of the documentation, so usually we follow like certain libraries and certain libraries to create our push notifications. Okay. So Firebase is one of the best options, I would say. Like most of us might have used Firebase in order to achieve different functionalities. So Firebase offers push notification functionality as well. You can you can just go through this article, and it has a very detailed setup steps, and it will be very useful for you guys to set up using Firebase. There's also a React Native push notification library that you can use it. And apart from that, we also have OneSignal. It's a open source, but like it has a free version and it's a freemium version. Okay. So free version usually will suffice our use case, but I would suggest to go with Firebase for now, since all of you guys are starting in React Native. So Firebase would be a best head start to do. Moving next, we have native component module. So now, what is the need of native component modules? When we can write code in React Native, then what is the need of native modules? So lot of our use case. So right now, React Native has grown a lot. If I look back to 3-4 years back, then React Native was not a very performant library, I would say. Okay, it was still in nascent stage. Lot of developers were contributing it in open source. So right now it has a lot of functionalities and features which we can use directly, but back then it was not very extensive. Okay, so a lot of use case comes in day-to-day life when you start coding into React Native application, that you have to create a UI in your native application, native platform. Let's say you have to create certain map library in iOS. You have to use certain feature of iOS map library. So you cannot do that out of box from React Native. You have to write a code in iOS. Okay. Now, since we are not very much familiar with iOS, how can we write a code in iOS? Okay, right. So that should not be a blocker. So it's a part of learning curve. If you start exploring iOS, it's a very straightforward language. I would say Swift is rather a very swift language. Okay, so if you start coding into Swift, it should be a straightforward, very smooth learning curve. Okay, so it's a day-to-day life requirement to create native components in React Native. Okay, let's see. So for Android, we have two things. We have a native module and native component. So native module is something. It's a library that you can integrate in your application. Okay, in your React Native application. And native component is something which it's a UI, native UI, which you have created in iOS or Android separately, and you are integrating that UI in your React Native application. Okay. So if you just follow these articles, it will really help all of you to learn the native component modules. It's not a very straightforward thing, I would say. It will take a bit of time to understand the concepts, how these native modules are getting connected, how the bridging part is initialized, and how the communication is happening between two realms, right? So if we talk about React Native architecture a bit, so React Native, how it is key, we have a React layer and we have a native layer. So these two layers does not talk directly. There is a bridge in between React layer and React Native and native layer. When I say native layer, it's a platform, Android platform and iOS platform, right? So whatever code we write in React, it gets transpiled into plain JSX, plain JavaScript, so not JSX, plain JavaScript, and these JavaScripts are communicated through a bridge. So the bridge, that is the main thing which take care of communicating between these two realms. Okay. So this native component module, it also follows those principles. So learning a React Native architecture is a very important thing, I would say. It's not a must-have thing. So right now, if you start looking into React Native architecture, you will get like you'll lose yourself. Like it's a very vast thing, I would say. So rather, how I did, like how I prefer it, like I just started coding into React Native, and slowly I learned into native platforms. Okay, that was the best path I could have followed. So moving next, we have a topic called deep links. So what are deep links? So have you noticed when you click on any notifications, it opens the app directly, right? Or let's say you are browsing in a mobile browser, and let's say you search any application which is a Play Store link. When you click on it, it will directly open the application if you have the application installed, or it will open the Play Store link. So opening your application through external URLs, it's a deep linking into your application. Okay. So React Native also supports. It's a native feature, I would say. iOS and Android, both the platform supports this feature. So React Native has a certain APIs that we can use in order to create deep links. Okay, and this is very useful, and it will be used across all the organization. Like it's a must-have thing. Okay, we have two questions: how to connect native components with React Native, or vice versa. So we can connect native component with React Native, or vice versa. We can do that using these native modules. Okay. So I don't want to go into detail right now. It's a long discussion. I would rather suggest you to go through this. I'll share this article link, and I would suggest you to go through this documentation, and definitely you will find it easy. And if you have any doubt, then we can definitely connect back on this. Okay. Can you please difference between React Native module and native component? Okay, so the native module and native component, these are two separate things. So I'll first talk about the component. What are the components in React? It's a UI layer, right? So the same thing native component is whenever you are creating UI layer in iOS or Android separately. It's a native component. You're not coding into React, but rather you are coding into iOS and Android. Okay, so native module, it's a library that you are creating in iOS and Android separately, and you are using in your React Native application, in your React layer. Let's move to deep links. So yeah, just to move to deep links. So deep links, I think I am clear on deep links. What is a deep link, and what are the use case of deep links, where you have to use it. So there are two ways that React Native allows us to handle any deep link URL. Okay, so there are two use cases, right? So one is if your app is already open and it's in a background. Let's say you are using Instagram and you go to your home. You press home button and you go to your home tab, and now you get any notification and you click on that notification, your apps opens up, right? So that is one of the ways to handle this deep linking. Okay, so for those event, we have to add a event listener on linking. So linking is a library, linking is an API that React Native provides us. Okay, so you can directly add linking dot add event listener and you can add a callback, so whenever your app opens up you can just listen to it, right? And the second use case is when your app is not open, it's not running in background, and you click on any notification or any URL, right? That triggers a opening of the app. So it's a different scenario when your app is not running right now, right? So for those scenarios, we can use get initial URL, and it returns a promise that we can use to open our application, and we can point exactly to any screen in our application. Let's say our app has hundreds of screens, right? So all of this screen will be added into navigation. So our navigator will know whatever screens our app contains, right? So each of the screen can have certain link, which can be defined uniquely defined with a link. So whatever link we provide, we can add a deep linking to it, and our app can support it, right? So just to give you example how deep link would look like. So before going into deep link example, let's say any link. So any link, let's say it's a web link, right? HTTPS or expo.io, right? So when you click on this URL, it opens a browser and you get to see the page. Okay. Now this particular HTTP, it's a scheme. We call it a scheme, right? Okay. So any scheme is defined by our React Native, our applications. Okay. So so any platform like this, there are some default schemes that is predefined, like mail to, tell, or SMS. When you have tell some this sort of link, if you click on it, it will open your phone app, right? When you have SMS link, it will open up your SMS app. Okay. Similarly, we have mail to is a default. So whenever you click on any mail to or some this sort of link, it opens up your mailing application. If you have a default mailing application, it will open that, or it will open up a pop-up where you can choose any application which will support mailing, right? Similarly, any deep link, it has a default, it has a certain schemes. So these schemes your app have to define. So you can define your scheme in your app, and your app can open these URLs. Now moving to the last topic, animations. So animations, like I have talked about animations in my last talk. So animations is definitely not must have, it's a good to have, and it definitely boosts your application. It gives a pleasant view to user. If you have animations, definitely your application will stand out from your competitors, right? So animation has like certain modules, certain properties, functions that we can use to create any animation that we want, right? So React Native supports it out of box, and these are supported by native library. So I've added a reference for this animation. So this is my talk to previous webinar. You can just follow this link and just get a hands-on on animation. It's a direct, it's a code base that I have set up on React Native animation. Cool. Now moving on to the bonus points. I know like I have talked a lot. There's not much coding in today's session because it's a road to React Native. We have to see how can we become a better React Native developer, or how can we become a React Native developer at all, right? So we have to learn, we have to know the path, right? So this is the path that I have shown you till now. Okay. So now talking about the bonuses, like what are the bonus points that if we cover all of this, definitely we will become a better React Native developer. So React Native architecture is one of the thing. It's an amazing architecture, I would say, that you should follow. So Formidable is a organization that has an open source library on React Native. They have created a lot of open source library, and they have created this blog on React Native architecture. It's divided into 4 parts. Okay, so basically in this architecture they talk about how the React Native re-architecture had happened. So React Native, like if I see React Native from last 4 years, 5 years, it has gone under like a long transformation, an amazing transformation, I would say. So from beginning, the architecture that used to have on React Native and the current architecture, it's very matured. So they in this blog, you'll know how this architecture has transformed and what are the pros that the advancements that is there in React Native latest version. So this will give you a basic idea and in a deep knowledge of React Native architecture. Okay, definitely you should go through this architecture blog. And next is optimizing any app performance. So whenever we create a mobile application, so we also need to cater performance of the application. It's very important in any application. Even if you are creating a web application using React, the performance is something which we have to talk always. Without performance, your app cannot stand out in the market, right? So there are certain ways that a React Native application can be used to can be make a performant React Native application. Okay, so one of the thing is profiling. So profiling is a very important topic that we have to understand, like how to do profiling in iOS and Android separately. Okay, so both Android Studio and Xcode has a profiler of their own. You have to use those profiler and understand what are the areas of memory leaks that you can have in your application. Why is it crashing a lot? What are the points that it is crashing? Where suddenly, so let's say I'll just give you a simple use case. You have created one application and you are using it. Let's say it's a Facebook feed and you are scrolling the feed, and suddenly your application boom crashes. Now you don't know where it is crashing, and like millions of users are being impacted on this. So you have to know where your app is not performing. So in order to know all those areas where the memory leaks where the possible memory leaks can happen, what are the UI render delays or how the UI is performing, you can use this profiling feature by iOS and Android. So both have separate profiler. Cool. And the other thing, like these two things that I've mentioned over here, these are the React best practices, I would say. So we should always clear the timers, intervals, and event listeners whenever we are unmounting the component. Okay, so this is a thing that I have seen personally in a lot of codes that we write in day-to-day life, that we just whenever we have a feature, we create the feature, but we forget to unmount. We forget to uninitialize all of the listeners in unmounting, right? So this creates a huge memory leak in our application, and that can really impact our app performance. So this is the area that everyone should look into. Okay, and the next thing is having a mounted check if your app is really mounted or not. Let's say we have an asynchronous function, okay, and that asynchronous function, in that callback we are doing some set states, okay, and before doing set state our component has already unmounted. Okay, so we need to know if, like before doing the set state, we need to know if our component is mounted or not. Otherwise we would be unnecessarily doing a set state, and that would again cause a memory leak. Okay, so these are the areas like that I have personally uh, like faced these problems that we can use in any app of performance optimizations. Okay, and definitely you can just refer also the React Native documentation, where you can just read about the performance optimization areas, and there are a lot of other areas that you can also use to optimize your app, right? And the next thing that I talked initially also was React Atomic Design. So Atomic Design is something which excites me a lot. Like it's a very neat and structured architecture, not architecture, it's a structure. Okay, so that you can use in any React application, not just React Native. You can use it in React web applications as well. Okay, so atomic design principle, I'll just talk a brief about it. It basically follows a biology atomic principle. We have atoms, molecules, right? We have atom, molecules, and then molecules forms organisms, form a, then we have templates, then we have pages. Okay, so if you just go through this article, it's a very interesting read, I would say. So definitely you should all go through this article. And last but not the least, I have also created the boilerplate. for all of you to get started with React Native. So what are the things that you need in a React Native application? So all of the things that I've talked in this webinar about React navigation and everything is already set up in this boilerplate. Okay, you can just go through this boilerplate and yeah, that's all. So let's move to the questions part. So we have a couple of questions right now. What about the security if someone tries to steal our API from HTTP debugger or any other technology? Many hack are available like reverse engineering app to capture HTTP data of the app, checksums and token generated for API request. Okay, so talking about the security, you cannot create an HTTP debugger from app. Okay, so if your application, so both iOS and Android has certain settings like ProGuard settings is there. I mean, other settings are there you can use in Android and iOS separately. So security can be definitely taken care from that. And I'm not the right person right now to tell you more about the security because I also need to deep dive into it. Okay. Next question is how can we create unit test cases in React Native? So unit test cases in React Native the same way that we can create in React web application, we can use Jest and Engine to create our test cases for any component. Okay. Okay. And then the next question is, can you tell us about debugging an application in detail as well as prod environment? Okay. So React Native, whenever you install any Native application in your phone, let's say you are doing it in simulator or in a real device, you can always there's a debugger menu that comes. So you can just open that debugger menu and it will open up the Chrome debugger extension. Okay, there you can debug, you can see the source code and you can debug a line by line code from there. Okay, it's a very similar experience that we used to do in a React web application. So debugging is as easy as React web. So next question from Hitesh is, can you explain difference between Expo client project and React Native CLI project? Okay, so the Expo it's a, I would say it's a library, like it's created on top of React Native. It gives a lot of inbuilt features, inbuilt APIs. Expo has inbuilt APIs that is created on top of React Native. Okay, so Expo, I would never suggest to go with Expo. I personally have never gone into Expo because it's in any production environment, Expo is not suggested to be used. So whenever you are creating a React Native application, you should definitely go through the React Native CLI. Okay, so CLI is definitely the most performant and the it gives you everything. Okay, you can do anything with React Native CLI, but you cannot do everything with React Native Expo. Basically, deep links are just to trigger some built-in apps installed on the mobile apps as I perform the action. So using deep links, you can, so deep links can create a path, create a way from any URL to your application and from your application to any other application. So talking between two different applications is a difficult thing. But let's say you have to open a browser from your app. Okay. So that is also done via deep linking. So the browser has a deep link. When you click on HTTPS, it will open the browser deep link. So let's say your app has certain routes and you just share your route on WhatsApp. If anyone clicks on your route, that will trigger a link to your URL. Your app is going to open up. So debounce and throttle feature to UI. Yeah, you can use debounce on any JavaScript feature that is there. You can use it. So I'm not very sure like what you wanted to ask. So Takash, can you raise your hand so that we can pull you into? Okay, moving to next question. How can we make a global dialog or loader in React Native? Yeah, so global dialog or loaders in React Native. So I'm understanding global dialog by you meant like any modals, right? So you can use third-party libraries for modals. Like a lot of third-party libraries are also there. Also, you can just the same way that you do in React web application in your top app container, you will inject your modal component and based on any action, you will open up this modal component, right?
So, Adishu, I'm just allowing Taksh to come here. Okay.
So can you hear
Hi,
me?
Daksh. Yeah, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so my question is like when we are scrolling through the menus and the menus, and so we have a header, and whenever we scroll, so our header should stick to the top, and we need this feature. So this feature is dependent something on any other property, and we need to, and also header is also dependent on the items, number of items in the container. So if there is a debounce on the throttle, then its position will, I want position to change from every scroll. So the debounce will cause a debounce in the throttle can cause a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I was using a LinkedIn app, and noticed some difference in the uh, debounce and any problem. One problem is they are due to debounce in the throttle feature. So so how to fix those problems who are dependent on each other, and there is a debounce feature. We have used debounce in the properties which is dependent, function is dependent on the uh, debounce, and and which function, that function is dependent on other function. So the dependency causing the problem.
Okay, I'm not very clear. Like, what exactly are you trying to achieve from this debounce? I mean, so can you just give a gist, like what exactly are you, what is your problem, what that you are
So
facing?
okay. So let's suppose we have the three icons on the top.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
on the header, and whenever we scroll, we need to change the uh, color of the icons, social icons.
Mm-hmm.
So when we need to change the icons, there is a debounce feature. So we don't want, we want this the color to change after in a rate, in after some time. So
Okay.
this is the problem when we are scrolling down and the color is changing again and again, and there is a problem when the position is not okay, and the position is not fixed, and there is a something a weird UI. So it's like a problem for a developer, which, so
Mm-hmm.
could you please tell me about this problem when the function are dependent, uh, and there is a use of debounce in the throttle functions.
I mean, I'm not very sure, like, what exactly, I mean, the problem can cause. So let's say, to understand your problem better, when you are scrolling, are you seeing a flickering on the UI, or is it creating a lag on the UI?
No.
Then what is the issue with, I mean, we can definitely use throttle and debounce with UI elements.
So I will contact you through LinkedIn and other
Yeah,
platforms.
definitely. Yeah, we can connect offline for your
I'm
particular
growing.
problem.
I'm growing the talk and the session time of the session.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah,
So Akash,
definitely.
Okay,
you
thanks.
can even connect after the session in the social launch. We can anyway connect there.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Moving to the next question.
we can start with Akash. Goel. Which one is more stable, Flutter or Kotlin?
Okay, Flutter or Kotlin. Like I've not used both of them, Flutter or Kotlin. So Flutter, I have heard like it's a very amazing framework to go ahead with. So, but yeah, definitely. So if you want to start coding into Flutter or Kotlin, it's a totally a different learning curve it has. So coding into React Native, why I prefer, because I'm very much comfortable in React. So when I know React, so the learning curve is very smooth for me to go into React Native. So yeah, definitely I'm not the best person to answer which one to use for Flutter or Kotlin.
Okay. And you will get the next session on Flutter or Kotlin. Let's see.
Yeah, Sana, definitely you can take care of it.
So,
Sure.
what is most stable to use? Okay, I think it's answered because this is not the session to answer this question. Okay.
Right.
And Chaitanya has asked, does Redux,
Does React
you can read it out.
Yeah, sure. I'll read it. So does Redux hooks have any important role in optimizing the app performance? Yeah. So right now, like if we follow the React latest version, so we should avoid using class components. So like lot of reasons are there. So when we use class component, we do not want to add any bugs. But since class component is life cycle, we create bugs unnecessarily. We unknowingly we create some bugs. So when we move to functional component, so a lot of those bugs are already removed from our code base because we don't have any life cycle. And when we have functional component, definitely the Redux hooks we can use it. It's definitely a best practice to follow, I would say. I'm not very sure it will optimize your app performance or not, but yeah, it's a best practice to follow.
Guys, I've shared the feedback link, so it would be great if you can share your feedback. And also, I've created a separate React Native developers group on WhatsApp, so you can join us there, and you can get in touch with Vishu also there. So that would be great if you can give us the feedback so that we can come up with better webinars. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
you can go
definitely.
back to the question.
So yeah, moving to the next question. Like in React, we have browser finally rendering the React components. What is the equivalence of the browser in mobile app? So in React native environment also you have virtual DOM concept. So the entire React architecture that was there in web application, it's also here in React native environment. It's just that so when this virtual DOM, the DOM that we create, it's getting converted into a native layer tree that is called a shadow tree. So the architecture link that I have shared. So I think you all can see my link screen, right? Yeah. So in the React Native architecture links, when you go through this architecture, you will find a shadow tree concept over here. So how React and native components work in parallel. So it will create a shadow tree out of the virtual DOM. Okay. I think I answered your question. Renan.
Move it to answer.
Cool. What should be used for logs and or crashes? So there are a lot of third-party tools, SDKs that are available in order to logs for crashes. So we have used in our organization like Bugsnag is there. You can also use Sentry in order to log. So all these are like third-party libraries. You can definitely use it. No need to reinvent the wheel. Okay, next question. As a beginner, which platform would be a good startup, iOS or Android or web app? If you're starting with if you're starting fresh on React, then web is a definitely a best choice. If you know React, if you're good hands-on in React, then iOS or Android. If you have Mac, I would suggest you to go with iOS. It gives you a pleasant performance and very pleasant UI. It's a I personally like it iOS as a developer, but anything is a good to start. Not a big deal. Okay. Add mobs, can you brief something? Add mobs, I've not used it. I'm not the right person for this question. Next question. Can we start by building what kind of app? Okay, we can start, let's say, I'll just give you a small use case. You can start building a small Facebook app where you have profile page, you have let's say you have login screen. Okay, you let the user to log in, sign up, and then in the home page you can have a Facebook feed where the list will contain images, videos, text components, and you have header where you can do add a search bar. Then you can also have a profile component. So starting just to get a start on any application, you can think of any application that you see and you can start creating that application. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, anything. It's just that you will be creating a skeleton out of the app. It won't be a fully production app, but yeah, definitely it's a good head start. Debounce and throttle feature, I think we have discussed it. Prakash will connect offline for this. Could you explain the difference between the native module and native component? I think this is also discussed.
Okay, I'll just move it to
Sana?
answer. Okay,
Yeah.
Chaitanya has asked, could you please talk about server-side rendering in React? So Chaitanya, we already did a session on it. You can refer our YouTube channel and you can find it there. So there's a whole session
Yeah.
on server-side rendering, so you can refer that. Move it to answer. Okay, what can we use to persist data in React Native?
Yeah, so in order to persist data, so there are two things. In order to persist any data, we have async storage. So async storage is a library that is available online. You can use async storage library and you can just integrate with your app and it will help you to persist any sort of data that you want. But one important catch is there, since in a mobile environment, you don't have a lot of space. So you have to be very selective on what data you are trying to cache, what data you are trying to store in your local storage. So do not just dump everything into your local storage. Rather, be very selective on whatever you want to persist. Yeah, I
There
think
is one more
we are
question.
good now. Okay, there's no question. How to make sure no one reverse engineers our app? Okay, reverse engineering is something that we cannot control, right? So let's say just hope for the best. I have not done any reverse engineering, so I'm not very sure what to do to make sure that our app is cannot be reverse engineered.
Okay, we're going to hacking if talking about okay. If talking about security,
Yeah,
how to secure.
that can be a separate topic altogether. It's not very easy to hack any application out from.
Okay. So I think I'm getting a lot of insight like how the new topics I can pick here.
Okay, there are a couple of more questions, Sana. Also, a string storage call is async. So does it bring stability issue? No, it won't bring any stability issue. So async storage, it's just work as a local storage. So whatever data you want, you store in a web application. So in web application, you have local storage, session storage, right? So similarly, in React Native environment, you have async storage concept. It's a local storage that will be used offline. Okay. Talking about the security, how to secure our app from hackers. So one question to Akash, I have not seen any if it's very easy to hack any application. So if you you just follow the best practices and don't expose your backend. If your backends are secure, definitely your UI should be a dumb UI. UI should never be a there should not be any business logic into the UI. That is the best thing that to do in order to have more secure application. Okay, so whatever data you are going to display in the UI, that has to come through the backend. And in fact, you can do a widgetized form of UI. Okay, so your UI is so dumb that whatever components that you see in the UI, it is coming from the backend. UI does not know anything. So it won't be very easy for the any hacker to hack into your application. Even if they hack, they will just get a list of bunch dumb components, nothing else. And it's not very straightforward to reverse engineer the apps. Okay. Which Redux middleware would you prefer out of Thunk and Saga for? Like I personally prefer Thunk. I have worked on Saga once and I did not find it very useful for my use case. And Thunk solves all of the purpose that is there. Okay. So there's one question from Hitesh. What is the use of Redux middleware? So middlewares are used to handle async calls into Redux. So by default, if you use Redux without any middleware, you cannot call any asynchronous actions. So asynchronous actions, if you want to use, you have to use a middleware. That is Thunk or Saga. And Thunk is very straightforward, small, thin library that you can add in your Redux application. Cloudflare for React Native app possible. I did not get your question. Cloudflare, by what do you mean by Cloudflare? Let me just. Yeah, Cloudflare provides. I think Cloudflare provides a lot of APIs that you can use in your application, right? So yeah, if you're using just third-party APIs that Cloudflare are providing, then you can definitely integrate in your application. Okay. Anything you want to share about Airbnb animations? So if you are talking about Airbnb animations, are you talking about Lottie animations, Shubham? I'll just skip this question for now. Let's cover other questions. What do you use for state management, Redux or Movex? Movex, okay. So I've been personally using Redux. If you have used Movex, any benefits? No, I've not used Movex. I've used Redux and I like it a lot. And not planning to move to Movex anytime soon if there is no actual need for that. React provides some new APIs for achieving global state throughout the application. I guess React query, I do not remember. Okay, so that is React context. So yeah, I did not write in React. Yep. Yeah, that is very important. So React context, it is something that it's you should know it how the context work. Context APIs are work in React. So the same way the Redux work. So Redux as a provider, right? So similarly, the React context APIs work. So yeah, definitely, it's a very good thing to learn, and you should explore it more. What about if someone successfully making automation of our app idea? If you have mobile app, game app, and use it mobile recharge and payment for a link, and company can lose its revenue. I did not get this question. Let's move to next question. We'll come to this question later. How much performance will we get with React Native apps when compared to native apps? Okay, so talking about the performance difference between React Native application and native application that we write in native components. So definitely there is a performance gap. If you write application in iOS or Android separately, that will be best performant. Nothing can beat that performance. Okay. And when you write in React Native environment, because there is a transformation from React code to JSX, and there is a bridging. So the bridging between React Native, React layer and native layer. So that bridging is a bottleneck. Okay. So that is the area that compromises our performance. But again, it's not a very big performance gap. And when we write application in React Native, it's a very performant app. And a lot of big companies are using it already. Like if I talk about Microsoft, they are using in like across all the applications, Teams, Outlook, all the mobile applications, like they are moving slowly into React Native. So, and even I work with CureFit, they are also using React Native heavily. So, and I see the app performance is really nice. Definitely, there are areas of improvement, and it all depends on how the code we write. If we don't write a performant code, definitely the app is not going to perform. Next thing, would you actually replace your Redux state management with context? No, I would not do that, because Redux, it's a proper, well-maintained library. It's a matured library, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel every time, right? So no need to do that. Context API Redux, what should we choose? Context API, definitely. Oh, sorry, Redux, definitely. We should not reinvent the wheel. Okay. React is something soon for Windows or Mac as well. Is that true? Yeah, we can. So the whatever applications we are writing in React Native, it can work seamlessly on Mac OS, Windows OS, TV OS, Android OS, all, like everything. It's amazing. It's an amazing framework that has been built. How do you see PWA versus native and React Native applications in future? So PWA I do not see like long future. I mean, I won't comment on that future, but PWA, it's a native applications, definitely it's a very performant app, and PWA I've not worked a lot on it, so not going to comment on it. Okay. So the last question by Takash: what about if someone successfully making automation of our app idea? We have a mobile app, game app, and user will get the mobile recharge payment for playing. I'm not very sure, Takash. Let's connect separately, guys. It
Yeah.
seems like you have a couple of
Yeah.
doubts. Yeah, we can connect separately for
Who
these
will to
questions.
answer then? Okay.
Yeah. Anyone have any queries? Yes, Anna, please go ahead. I think we are good.
Okay, great. So, guys, please submit the feedback. That would be really a great help for us to understand what went wrong and what went right, so that we can continue doing it. And if we can remove it, something like there is no good for it. So, please share your feedback. That's really very helpful for us. And obviously, I've already shared the WhatsApp group link, so you can join it, and you can anyway ask whatever doubts you have even there, and whatever knowledge you want to share even from your end. If you want to share something, you can share it there. And I created that group especially, like, I can understand the kind of knowledge you want, right, in the future sessions, what you want me to come back with a topic, or it can be anything. If you want me to add up something, or if you want me to come back with a long session on one topic or something like that, it can be anything. So please join that group and please give your feedback. You can give suggestions like what you want us to do in future sessions. That's like really okay for it. Okay, so thank you so much, guys, for joining in. I think I got 4 more questions. So probably, like, you guys
Okay.
can connect because I think we're already done. But if you wish, if you want to give answer in this session, that's fine. Otherwise, you can connect after the session in the social launch with all these people.
Yeah, I'll just quickly try to cover this questions. I think it's a small
Yeah.
list now. Okay, so library that can be used for bug management is a Bugsnag. Okay, Google Captcha in React Native. I think there should be any open source library that we can use for Captcha.
Okay.
In fact, Google should be providing that. Yeah, should we learn Objective C or Java along with the React Native for better development? I won't suggest you to learn a lot in Objective C. Rather, you should learn Swift, because learning Swift, because all the iOS applications that you are going to write in future will be done on Swift, and Swift is a very matured language right now. So definitely, Swift is a better choice.
I'll just move to answer.
There's some library or other than React Redux and context which React provides for global state management. Do you have any idea on that? No, I don't use the libraries apart from React Redux.
Okay. So I'll just move to answer then. I think we're
Yeah,
done
sure.
with all the questions. Okay, React query or something. Akash, and I think he was raising hand. I couldn't allow that time. You both
Okay.
want
If you
to
can
have
add
connect
Akash
after
into,
the session in the social launch. So you can,
yeah,
Akash
yeah, sure.
and Taksh, you can grab a seat, and then Rishu will come there and join you guys. Okay. Fine then.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, guys, for joining in here. Thank you so much. It really means a lot. And thank you so much, Rishu, for giving us such a knowledgeable session. Thank you so much.
yeah, it was my pleasure. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining
Thank
the
you.
session.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.